Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. Minister, welcome to the Seanad, and thanks for taking the time to answer this very important question on Ardgillan Community College. Ardgillan Community College is situated in the town of Balbriggan in North County Dublin, and it not only serves the town of Balbriggan, but it surrounds surrounding villages such as Balrotherry and the Knoll. And Balbriggan itself, along with the whole rest of Fingal, is the fastest growing part of the country, but Balbriggan has the youngest population in the state, so school provision is very, very important in Balbriggan. And this school is under the patronage of the Dublin and Dunleary ETB, and phase 1 of the school was opened in 2009 and phase 2 was opened in 2015, and that brought the school population up to 1,000. And it's an excellent school. It has excelled academically and in sports, music and the arts, and has very high standards, and there are long waiting lists for every year in the school. It's a very, very popular school, as I said. Last October, significant structural defects were discovered in phase 1, which is the 18 classroom first section of the school, and this discovery, as you know, prompted urgent structural assessment of 30 schools which were built by Western Building Systems, and they included schools in Greystones, Tyrrellstown and Mullingar. The students in Ardgillan phase 1 are now being housed in the nearby Castlelands Community Centre, but this is far from being ideal. It leads to the school being kind of lacking of structure and disjointed, and I don't think anybody is happy with the current situation. They accepted it was a temporary situation, but the school has requested the provision of temporary portakabin accommodation, but have received no information from your department to date on the provision of these portakabins. And I just want to ask you today if this request will be granted. Will the portakabins be on site, and when will they be on site? And also I want to find out, when will phase 1 be reopened? And it's very important now, we're coming into the summer months, that as much work as possible can be done in Ardgillan to get it up to scratch for September. And it's you know, despite the best efforts of the school principal there, Mr. O'Leary, and all the school staff, it is a very difficult situation for all the students concerned and their parents and the teaching staff. And people in Balbriggan and Balrotherry and the Knoll are very concerned about the school. And I'm out canvassing with Niall Keady in Balbriggan, and this is coming up very, very regularly on the doorsteps, and it's a very real topic now that we're coming into the local elections, and people are asking me and people are asking Niall Keady what's going on, and that's why I'm here today to ask you what actually is going on there. And many parents who have children currently in St. Malaga's who have been existing in 19-year-old really, really bad prefabs are very dismayed at the thoughts of their children now going into Ardgillan Community College, despite it being an excellent school, but having to face temporary and unsecure accommodation for their secondary school education. So it's a really important issue, Minister, and we need answers, and more importantly, we need action.
Thank you. Before I call the Minister to speak, I'm sure the members of the House will wish to join with me in welcoming the Right Honourable Sir Alan Duncan MP, Minister of State for Europe and the Americas at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. On my own behalf and on behalf of all my colleagues in the Seanad Éireann, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to you and good wishes for a very successful visit to Ireland. Unfortunately, our chamber is rather quiet on this occasion because in a very short period of time on Friday there are local, European and a referendum, and a lot of members who would normally be here are knocking at doors and etc. etc. So leaving that aside, you're most welcome, and I hope you enjoy your visit. So now Minister McHugh.
Good morning, Cathaoirleach. I'd like to thank the Senator for raising this matter, as it gives me the opportunity to provide an update to the House on the current position regarding the external precautionary measures remediation works of Ardgillan Community College, part of which is closed since last October following the identification of significant structural issues. The House is no doubt aware that last October and November, my department carried out initial assessments into 42 schools that were built by a contractor using the Design and Build programme of delivery, which includes part of Ardgillan Community College. The House will also be aware that of those schools, 22 required precautionary measures to enable continued safe occupation. Ardgillan Community College is different from other schools with precautionary measures in place in that the nature and extent of the issues there are such that the building assessed was required to close. The school remains operational in another building on site. The safety of pupils and staff has been and remains our first priority. Following on from the initial assessments, which were based on sample opening up works, my department initiated a second phase of detailed investigation for the schools on the 18th of January last. The next phase of the programme focused initially on the 22 schools that had precautionary measures in place and at Ardgillan. The purpose of these investigations was to determine the nature and scope of any permanent remediation measures required in each individual school, and from the technical information gathered by the appointed structural engineers, to design permanent remediation solutions where these are needed. In line with the update published in January, detailed structured investigations have now been completed in all of the 22 schools, with precautionary measures in place and at Ardgillan Community College. In tandem with the investigations, significant work has been undertaken by my department, supported by the National Development Finance Agency and an appointed multidisciplinary team to design and plan permanent engineered remediation solutions for each of these schools. An individual work plan for each school will flow from this body of work. These plans will feed into an overall timetable programme of remediation works for the schools, which will commence during the summer months. All efforts remain on track to achieve this objective. When the works programme is available, the details will be first shared at meetings with the patrons and the schools involved. Arrangements are being put in place for such meetings with the patrons and the school authorities of the 22 schools, including Ardgillan, to be scheduled in June. In parallel with this work, during the summer months, detailed structural investigations in 17 schools built by the same contractor without precautionary measures in place will also proceed. Our schedule for those detailed investigations issued to the 17 schools involved and their parents last week. The intention is that any remediation works that may be necessary in these schools will be carried out from 2020 onwards. I want to acknowledge and thank the principals, staff, parents and pupils again for their patience and cooperation as my department works its way through this complex process. Specifically regarding Ardgillan Community College, I want to thank the leadership and Michael O'Leary, who has shown excellent leadership throughout this process, and his team, and also the students. The scheduled detailed investigation phase has been undertaken and a programme of works to remediate the building has been put in place for implementation. This is an Education and Training Board school, and pending the delivery of the remediation work, my department will ensure, in continued consultation with the ETB, that any interim accommodation needs at the school are met. In this regard, 2 additional temporary classrooms, a workroom room and a prep area, together with a disabled toilet, access toilet, have been approved for September 2019.
Thank you. Brief supplementary, Senator.
Thanks, Minister, for that, and that's to be welcomed, the provision of the additional temporary classrooms, and I appreciate the update in that regard and the update in relation to the remediation works that are due to commence in the summer. And I was wondering if you could tell me if that timetabled works shows the completion of these works by September.
Yeah, I'd be hoping that we're in a position for all of those 22 schools that will have the vast majority of them completed by September. And because of the significant impact that Ardgillan Community College had it was the only school where they had to decant on a permanent basis, I certainly will ensure that that will be prioritised and ready for September, if that's possible. Obviously, there'll be some schools out of the 22 that some works may go into the week in October, but everybody will be back in schools and nobody will be decanted, and I'd be hoping that we'll have a solution ready for September for Ardgillan.
Thank you very much, Minister, and I appreciate you keeping Balbriggan and Ardgillan Community College to the top of your priority list, and it's something I'll be in correspondence with you as the summer progresses.
Thank you very much.